Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for inviting me to your meeting today. And I don't want to waste any time because I know you're busy, so I'm going to get right into it. And the first thing I want to emphasize is that Nikken is about bringing nature into your life. When you think about a lot of companies are always pushing products that are about medicine, and they're missing the whole point of just creating a natural lifestyle. And Nikken really is about creating a natural lifestyle with the magnetics, the water, the sleep as being the foundation of everything that you do. So if you sleep well, you're drinking clean water, and you're wearing the magnetics, you're simulating contact with the earth. All those things have such a great way of balancing your body and allowing it to go into homeostasis, which is its own regulating energy. And this is the key to all health, is that you do enough things that allows your body to work easily to help regulate its own health, and then it has a very easy time to find its own balance and to create a healthy environment. And so Nikken is really all about that. And with the products I'm talking about today, you're going to see that it's just a way of incorporating natural foods and natural things into your lifestyle, so it makes it easier for you to be healthy. And one of the great examples of that, the product I want to start out with first, is called Jade Greenzymes. Now, Jade Greenzymes, as you all know, is a concentration of barley grass powder. And barley grass is chosen because it's one of the most nutritious plants that you could ever consume, and because of its high chlorophyll content and the fact that it's a green plant. You can never overemphasize just the fact that it's a green plant, and green plants make up one of the most important food groups that you can ever incorporate into your diet. It's also one of the food groups that very few people actually get enough of. You know, with the way life is going these days, and most people are eating so much fast food, if you look at that typical diet, very few people are actually getting whole food nutrition as part of their diet. And one of the biggest things they're missing is green foods. Now, green foods produce that beautiful color you see when you look at Jade Greenzymes, which is really the color of chlorophyll. That is produced because of the plant's relationship with the sun. And this is what's one of the things that's very unique about eating green plants, is that they have a special relationship with the sun where they take that nutrient from the sunlight and turn it into a nutrient in the plant called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is very unique in relation to humans because chlorophyll is actually very similar to human blood. In fact, it's only off by one molecule. You know, chlorophyll has magnesium as the center molecule of its structure, whereas human blood has iron as the central molecule of that structure. And so this is one of the reasons why when people take Jade Greenzymes, you've probably noticed this, they'll tell you that right away they feel energy. They feel different, especially if they take it on an empty stomach. And the reason for that is that it's so close to something the body actually makes itself that it's recognized right away and it's easily absorbed. The way the formula is put together, the way the structure of the molecules of the plant itself are easily taken up into the body and transformed into something usable to make blood out of. And so your body just recognizes it as being something very similar to what it has, and it absorbs it immediately. This is one of the keys to Jade Greenzymes. You know, human beings are the same way. We use the sun to produce hormones. We produce vitamin D from it. Plants and humans are the same in the fact that neither of us can survive without the sun, having some relationship to that light vibration from the sun. And so this is, again, one of the reasons why we have such a symbiotic relationship with nature, and why we feel so good when we incorporate that type of food into our diet. Now, you know, going along with Jade Greenzymes and the fact that you absorb it immediately, and it's such an important food for you, one of the other things you might want to think about when you're incorporating this into your diet is to incorporate a whole range of plant foods into your system. In fact, I remember doing a meeting once where I challenged people to just do 10 servings of vegetables a day for 1 week and to find out how that changed their health. I had one lady tell me she lost 8 pounds in 1 week just by eating 10 servings of vegetables. Now, if you're trying to figure that out with J Greenzymes, you could easily have a couple tablespoons of J Greenzymes and call that 2 or 3 servings of vegetables because it's that highly nutritious. But the reality is when you put that much good food in your system, your body not only gets so much energy from it, but it takes the place of all the other junk that most people eat. And you'll find that after a week, if you decide to do this yourself, is that you'll have much more energy. You'll actually feel that your mind works much clearer, and you'll just feel more vibrant throughout your entire day. And so, it's not a big sacrifice to feel like that after a week. But J Greenzymes is kind of like the key to the whole thing. And the fact that it's something that's so easy to put into your diet to give you that food group, and it tastes good, it's easy to assimilate, and most people, when they compare it to other green foods, find that J Greenzymes is probably the best tasting green food on the market. So it makes it easy to kind of lead with that product and give people something that they're going to feel good from, and they're going to have tremendous benefits from it. And so it's just one of the different products that Nikken carries that is all really based on whole foods that are missing from most people's diets, and they're almost essential to someone who wants to feel vital and alive every day. Now, one of the other ones is a product that has been around for a while, but again, it's that segment of foods that very few people get any into their diet, and that's called the Ken's immunity. The immunity product is one of the most important things for humans today because we're having so many different crises going on around the world that involve your immune system. Look at every year they're talking about the new flus that are coming in, the new epidemics, all these different things that they're talking about with infections all over the world. And, of course, modern medicine is always talking about getting more vaccines and all these different things. But the reality is your exposure to a germ or a virus is only part of the issue about whether you're going to actually get sick. The biggest issue is 2 things. One, your frame of mind, how positive you are, because that affects every cell in your body. Even your immune cells are affected by your outlook on life. And the other thing is, what is the state of your natural defenses? What is your body? What kind of state is your immune system in? And is it prepared to fight invaders into your system? Now, one of the most interesting studies I've ever seen in the last few years proves this point. And that is the fact that they know now that they can take a cold virus and actually put it in a person's nose, and only 8% of those people will actually get a cold. Now think about that. 8 out of 100 people will get a cold from putting a virus in their nose. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you that it's not just about getting exposed to something, it's about how healthy that individual is in the first place. And this really is one of the keys to why you would even want to pay attention to nutrition at all and your lifestyle. It's because when your body is in a state of good health, and especially if it has a good immune system, then you're basically in a state of the best defense against almost anything you'll ever be exposed to. And not only things you'll be exposed to, but the diseases that just happen to develop within your own body. Most people are scared to death of getting cancer. And right now in the United States, it affects 1 out of every 2 people. And again, though, what is the actual reason for that? Well, that is hard to actually figure out because we're exposed to so many different chemicals that cause our cells to become damaged. And any one of those damaged cells can actually mutate into something cancerous. But along that way of where that cell actually changes and gets to the state where it could actually develop into something that turns into cancer, there's a step right at that moment that could take place to get rid of it completely. And that step involves your immune system. And this is one of the reasons why the Kenzen immunity is such an important food for people to take. And I refer to it as a food because mushrooms, and most of the mushrooms in this product, are considered to be foods all over the world. So it's something that's safe to take. It's not something you take as a medicine. It's something you incorporate in your diet every single day, just like jade greenzymes. And so we have the Kenzen immunity, which is really just designed to peak or to build up the weak parts of your immune system so that you have a fully functioning immune system at all times. And this becomes especially important as you age, because we all know people when they're younger, up until they're 30 years of age, they're actually just so vital and alive that they can withstand most things as long as they're living a healthy lifestyle. But once you reach 30, one of the things that happens to every single human being is that their immune system starts to become weaker. And once your immune system starts to become weaker, it's very hard for your body to deal with all the things that are going on inside of it, especially when they're exposed to so many different toxins every single day. It's not only the toxins in the food you eat, but the air that you breathe, the toxins in your water. It's just impossible to get away from it. And so the unique thing about the Nikken immunity, because it is a food, and it's a food that works on all different parts of your immune system, because there's 14 different mushrooms in this product. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why does it have so many different mushrooms in it? Well, it's because your immune system has so many different parts to it that need to be activated, and every single mushroom has a slightly different active ingredient called a beta-glucan, and some of them have something called an alpha-glucan. And these different molecules work on different aspects of your immune system. For example, we have a mushroom in this product called maitake. And maitake is a very powerful immune system building mushroom. In fact, they make medicines out of maitake mushroom. It's that powerful for your immune system. So, but maitake might work 90% of the time on a certain type of cancerous cell in a laboratory, but it doesn't work the other 8%. Well, you have another mushroom called agaricus, which is another mushroom in the Nikken formula that may work on that part of cancer that maitake doesn't, and work on it 90% of the time. So you kind of get the idea of why you mix these different mushrooms and why it's good to have something that activates all different parts of your immune system. Because you don't know if maybe the natural killer cells are weak in your immune system. That's the part that actually goes out and destroys a tumor and takes care of it before it becomes something that you would even notice, right? Or maybe it's your T cells that need to be activated. Maybe your T cells aren't very strong, or you don't have very many of them. And your T cells are what go out and actually locate what your immune system needs to actually work on. So you're getting the idea about why you want to have so many of these different mushrooms in a formula to build general immunity. Now, one of the unique things about the Nikken formula, there's a lot of unique things about the Nikken formula. One of them is it's all organic, and that's very important because when you have a mushroom and you're growing it, and these, by the way, are grown in a laboratory, because that's the safest way to actually grow a mushroom that you're going to take to build your immune system. Now, why is that? It's because a mushroom is, by nature, it exists in nature actually to recycle garbage and waste products. And so when a mushroom grows out in nature, it's actually recycling leaves and twigs and things that are in the forest and turning it into compost in the soil, right? Well, if that mushroom is exposed to a toxin in the environment, let's say a pesticide or something to do with petroleum, that mushroom will actually incorporate that chemical into its own physical structure. And so Nikken's mushrooms are produced at a type of farm laboratory to where they're guaranteed that all the water, the air, everything is climate controlled so that there's absolutely no toxins that that mushroom is exposed to. And it's grown on an organic grain that is determined to be the best possible food for that particular mushroom. So when that mushroom is harvested as a mycelium and then processed, it's guaranteed to have the highest level of active ingredient in that mushroom that is actually possible for growing that specific species. In fact, the farm that grows Nikken mushrooms often gets higher levels of active ingredients in their mushrooms than a lot of people do by buying concentrated powders out of China. And so it's quite a unique growing environment, and we're producing very clean, organically grown medicinal mushrooms. And so one of the other unique things about Nikken's mushrooms is that we incorporate 3 to 4 different mushrooms that are actually used to make drugs around the world. They're that powerful for your immune system. You look at shiitake. Shiitake is a mushroom that most people are aware of. It's used in some Oriental cooking. But the reality is that shiitake is used to make a cancer drug in Japan. It's one of the most powerful cancer drugs in the last 25 years. In fact, for the first 20 years that it was in existence, it was the #2 selling cancer drug worldwide. And that was just an extract of shiitake mushroom. Now, the #1 selling cancer drug worldwide for 20 years was actually made out of another mushroom called Coriolis. Sometimes it's called Trametes. But that particular mushroom was the #1 selling cancer drug for 20 years. And we use that mushroom in the Nikken formula to build your immune system. Now, it's quite different from a drug because a drug is a highly refined, concentrated chemical. But we use the same mushrooms grown organically in the Nikken formula because they both have unique properties of building certain aspects of your immune system. And so there's another mushroom called tremella, which is used to make an antiviral drug in Israel. So you're kind of getting the idea about how Nikken has decided which mushrooms to put in this formula because they have a history of somewhere in the world being used to make very powerful herbal products or drugs to actually treat diseases. But the way that we use it and the way that it's sold here and how it's brought to you by Nikken is that they're all mushrooms that are safe to take on a daily basis, and they just build a robust immune system. So for the average person, because human beings today have very little food in their diet that actually has an impact on their immune system. We have tons of food in our diet that actually ruin our immune system. Sugar is the #1 thing. Every time you eat sugar, your immune system goes down, particularly the part of it that builds your natural killer cells. They almost shut off for an entire day just from eating a lot of sugar. So you can see why it's important to clean up your diet, but also to do something that boosts your own immune system. And Nikken's immunity is one of the perfect ways to do that. And so when you look at that bottle and you're thinking maybe you haven't taken it before and you want to build your immune system, let's say you're somebody that is sick a lot, you get a lot of colds and flus. Well, that's an indication that your immune system is not very healthy. So I wouldn't be sitting here going, I'll take 2 caps for a month or 2 and maybe build my immune system. No, you're probably someone that needs to take probably 6 caps a day for a month to start to really jumpstart your immune system, and then maybe go down to 4 for a month, and then maybe go down to the 2 to maintain some vibrancy in your immune system. But you have to make these decisions on your own. Don't make the mistake of just keeping it in your medicine cabinet and taking it when you feel sick. Although it works really well when you might catch a flu or something and you're feeling bad and you want to take a lot of it. But that's not the point. The point is to take it every day, build your immune system up so you don't catch colds and flus. And if you do, this is the best part of it. If you actually get exposed to a cold and catch it, what you're going to notice is that it goes away in a day or 2. Or if you catch a flu, you're going to be the person that might get out of bed in 3 or 4 days and start to feel fantastic, as opposed to a friend of yours that might end up being sick for 30 days from the same flu. And that's not uncommon to catch a nasty flu and to just feel really run down and worn out from it for 30 days afterward. So all these are advantages you get from building a robust immune system. And Nikken's immunity product is one of the best things you could ever take to do that. And again, it's a whole food, just like jade green zymes. And so since I'm talking about whole foods, I want to talk right now about one of my favorite foods besides mushrooms. And that is the Siaga V. And Siaga V is very unique in the same way that jade green zymes is. Jade green zymes is unique because it's a concentrated green food, something that very few people get into their diet, and it supplies you with a specific type of nutrient that your cells need to actually be healthy. Well, Siaga is the same way. Siaga is made up of a lot of very potent berries that have a very high anthocyanin content. And there's a lot of reasons why this is important for you. One, anthocyanins are one of the most powerful antioxidants in the plant world. They're also one of the classes of antioxidants that very few people have in their diet. And the reason for that is because anthocyanins are actually occur mostly in fruits that are very expensive to buy and to have in your diet every single day. And by the way, in case you're not familiar with it, what an anthocyanin is, it's the actual purple or red color that occurs in berries. And the plant actually makes that purple color or that red color because it's a protective mechanism for the plant to protect it from sunlight and to protect it from getting burnt and actually suffering damage, cellular damage, just like humans get cellular damage from too much sunlight. So it produces this natural protective chemical called an anthocyanin. It's an anti-inflammatory chemical. And that's why when you look at Siaga's label, you'll notice that it has maquis fruit, it has raspberries, elderberries, blackberries, grapeseed extract. These are all fruits that produce a very robust dark color, and that actual antioxidant called an anthocyanin is one of the most important ones to have a natural anti-inflammatory effect throughout your entire system. In fact, one of the most important effects of that type of fruit is that it has an anti-inflammatory effect in your arteries. It's one of the most powerful preventatives for developing inflammation in your arteries. And as we all know, inflammation now is finally being looked at as really the source of what heart disease is all about. It's developing systemic inflammation throughout your cardiovascular system, and then how that triggers your body into a whole process where it produces too much cholesterol, too much other fatty acids, and it just creates this cascade of damage that goes throughout your entire system. And so anthocyanins are one of the most important anti-inflammatory, naturally occurring compounds you could ever incorporate in your diet. But again, it's also one of the hardest because berries are one of the most expensive fruits to buy. And for another really important reason is that berries are sprayed with the most pesticide of almost any fruit you could ever buy. And this is one of the downsides of having fruit in your diet and not buying organic. If you're not buying organic, you're exposing yourselves to so many pesticides every single day, trying to eat something that's supposed to be good for you and has these amazing antioxidants in it, that it's not even worth eating the stuff because of the not toxic chemicals that are sprayed on it. And this is why Siaga, another reason why it's so unique, is because it's organic. It's not using any fruit that actually has been exposed to pesticides or had anything applied to it. And it's so much less expensive than actually buying the fruit itself. So you can have a shot of Siaga and get more benefit for probably a third of the cost of then eating the equivalent berries every single day for a month. Now think about that. It's one of the most important antioxidants you could ever get, and it's actually cheaper than buying food to replace it with. And I'll tell you one of the things that I love about it, besides the taste, it tastes fantastic, is that my kids will drink it. You know how hard it is to get your kids to drink something that's good for them? Well, they'll drink Ciaga all the time. My kids love it. In fact, the first thing my daughter said when I gave her some was, "Oh, that tastes really good." Now, isn't that a great reaction from a kid, right? So you can put Ciaga in their drinks that you're giving them. You can give it to them right out of a little cup. They just like it. You can incorporate it so many different ways into their diet. And it's one of the most easiest ways to incorporate a very high level of protective nutrients into a child's diet. Because you know what? Children are exposed to the same toxins that adults are, and they have a much stronger effect on a child than they do an adult. A children's body does not develop the ability to actually detoxify from toxic chemicals the way an adult does until they're around 10 to 12 years old. They just don't have the same chemical pathways by which the body takes nutrition and turns it into its own antioxidants to bind with toxins and move it out of the system. So kids need to eat a cleaner diet, and they often, they don't, and they need to incorporate some nutrition into their system to actually help them. And so Ciaga is one of the great ways to do that. Jade green zymes is another great way to do that. Kids love the taste of it. It has such a bland, mild taste to it. You can put it into protein shakes. There's all different ways to incorporate these foods. In fact, even the Nikken immunity. My kids were taking Nikken immunity sometimes when they were 1 year old. It's a safe product to give people. So kids, just like adults, have these nutritional needs. In fact, for a lot of them, they're actually higher than adults because, again, they don't have the ability to actually detoxify or to have their own internal system protect them from things that adults do. So we have to do it for them and help them out a bit. So one of the last things I want to talk about today is a product called Kenzen Joint. And the reason I want to, talk about this one is because, as the population ages, we have certain requirements or certain things that just tend to happen to people, right? And, I can honestly say this because I'm part of that aging population, right? And so we just tend to have things happen or develop as we age that we need to take care of. One of them is our immune system gets weaker, right? And we've already talked about that. The other one is that we tend to have more injuries or develop issues with our joints, things that have to do with inflammation, right? Now, Nikken's Kenzen Joint is actually a product that deals with the fluid that forms a protective shield inside your joints. This is one of the main reasons why people get, as they age, they actually develop so much pain in most of their joints, is because we have a tendency as humans to actually dry out. This is something most people don't think about, but it's a common theory in Chinese medicine, which I'm trained in as an herbalist. And that is, as you grow older, the body loses its moisture, something they call yin in Chinese medicine. And that moisture is what supplies the supple softness to your joints and your connective tissue, and the moisture that lubricates your joints. Now, the beauty about the Kenzen Joint is that it's made up mostly of a nutrient called cetyl myristoyl. And that particular nutrient mimics a type of fatty acid that your joints need to actually stay lubricated. And this was what was so amazing when this nutrient was found, because there's nothing in nature that existed like this when they discovered cetyl myristoyl. It's actually a vegetarian, plant-based form of something that will create an environment in your joints where they're much more lubricated and they move freer. And so as we age, a lot of people will just think that they have joint pain, oh, they're getting arthritis. Well, it might not actually be true. It could just be the fact that your joint is undernourished. It's actually not getting the proper type of nutrition that it actually needs to stay lubricated and healthy. And that's where this product comes in. And I can honestly tell you, if I was going to give a personal personal testimonial about anything from Nikken, I have had the greatest response to the Nikken joint than any other product I've tried for them. And I've had great responses to a lot of products from Nikken. I love the magnetic products, wearing them in my shoes all the time. I love a lot of different things from Nikken, but the most radical response I ever had was to the Nikken joint. And since you don't know me, I'll tell you a little story. I'm a runner. You know, when I was back in my 30s, in my mid-20s, I started running. I used to run marathons, run a lot of 10K races. I evolved into being a triathlete, where I was doing these half Ironmans. And so it was common for me to run 90 miles in a week. It was common for me to ride my bicycle 300 to 400 miles in a week, training, right? And so even as I've gotten older, I still was a runner, but I switched to doing sprints and running a lot of 100-yard sprints just to keep my heart healthy and stuff. And one day, this was about, probably when I was around 52, that I developed some swelling in my knee, and it just really hurt, and I could barely bend it. So I was wearing the wraps around my knee. In fact, my knee hurt so bad, I had to pick it up and put it into bed. Now think about that. You lay down, you have to pick up your leg and lay your leg down over a pillow so it doesn't move. And then you lay down in bed, right? That's how bad my knee hurt. And I'm thinking, oh man, I need surgery again on my knee. I need to do all these things. And then a funny thing happened. I remembered I had ordered my wife 3 bottles of the Nikken joint, and she didn't use it. So I got up in the middle of the night and went through the closet and found this box of Nikken joint, right? So right away, I knew I had a severe condition, so I wasn't going to take the amount on the bottle. So I ended up taking between 10 and 12 capsules a day for the first 3 days. And a funny thing happened. On the 4th day, I woke up and I didn't have any pain in my joint. And so I went out and ran some sprints, right? And it barely hurt at all. And so I stayed on that dose for a week and then cut it in half. And then I stayed on that dose for a few weeks, and all my pain went away, and I've never had the thing back. And I continued to run sprints. Now think about that for a second. I still can't believe this. And I was just like, wow, that is an amazing thing, right? I took a natural product, something that's comprised of natural substances for my knee, and I avoided surgery. Now, I'm not saying that happened for you, but that's my testimonial, and what a response I had. I went from having to pick my leg up and putting it into bed with me because I couldn't lift it up and bend it, to running sprints 4 days later. And that was just from taking the amount of product. So what did that indicate to you about my knee? I was having an issue with the moisture in my knee. My knee was just undernourished and it hurt. Now, if I'd have went to a doctor, they'd have just told me I had arthritis and needed surgery. But I corrected it by giving it what it actually needed. And this is what I want to emphasize when I close here about Nikken products. It doesn't matter if it's the water. It doesn't matter if it's the magnetic products you wear as jewelry or it's in your shoes, or if it's the sleep products or Jade Greenzymes or Immunity or the joint or Siaga. You kind of get the idea. These are things that occur in nature, and you're actually taking these products and incorporating them or bringing nature back into your life. And most people, their health issues are things that they developed for years and years and years. And by the time that maybe you're talking to them, they've had 20 or 30 years of being without certain things their body actually needs. And this is why they have such a great reaction to Nikken products. You're giving them something that their body actually needs and recognizes, and then it utilizes it to correct a deficiency. Most long-term health issues are caused by deficiencies of nutrients and energy. And so when you can supply your body back with that, your body goes back into a phase of creating its own homeostasis, or say that a little better, it actually allows the body to go back into homeostasis itself and start to correct itself and its problems. And your body has all the intelligence it ever needs to heal from almost anything. But what you need to do is put it in a position to actually do that. And that again is what the Nikken products are about, putting you into a position to have the best possible outcome for your health and to make you feel the most vital and alive every single day, because you're paying attention to giving your body what it actually needs. And that is returning it back into its most natural state by exposing it to these things that occur in nature that are probably not in your life at the moment. And so that's what I love about Nikken, is that it gives you the opportunity to, in a hectic lifestyle, to incorporate things like the products I talked about today in your life to make you more healthy and vibrant and alive, and to help you have the happiest, most vibrant life you can possibly have. So thanks again for inviting me to your meeting. I hope it goes well, and one day I want to see you in person.